First of all, Kings Lynn away in the cup. What do you make of that?
Tough. Not what I particularly wanted. I'd have liked a nice home game against somebody sort of slightly lower down the pyramid. That would have always been a nicer one, but you've got to do what you got to do. So team in our league away from home is always going to be tough.
Given the way everything is in the world at the moment, all of the financial difficulties that clubs are under, does the FA Cup become even more important than ever to teams in the non-league, given the financial incentives?
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I don't really think about it for, the money it might bring. I suppose if you get to a third round or a fourth round and you get one of the big teams at home, it's always nice to have that buzz around the place and your fans be able to come. But we don't even know if that's going to be possible come January anyway. So you've just got to dig in and try and get through these rounds and keep that hope alive that you might get that big tie, a TV game or something. But, you don't think about the revenue. I don't. I just think about the glory of the FA Cup because I was brought up on it as a kid and it's always been special to me.
Matty Wolf's come in on loan from Barnsley this afternoon. What can you tell us about him? Why have you brought him in?
He's super highly regarded by Barnsley. He when he was younger, probably 2 or 3 years ago, he had a spell out where he was growing. He's a big lad. He's 6'2", but as he was growing and developing, he had sort of complications with the body that you do as a young lad. That meant he had a bit of time out with injury. So now he's coming in and he needs that development. And when we looked at a player that we wanted to bring in, we looked for somebody that can handle the ball, that understood the game, that had good legs, good energy. And then obviously if we can get somebody that's a good size, that helps with set pieces and is a threat or a marker, then that would always be a bonus. And, luckily for us, Matty ticked all them boxes.
Let's reflect a little bit on Tuesday. We all saw the video of how much it meant to the players when that goal went in right at the death. How good did it feel for you, knowing that it was a tough game, it was gritty, that the fact that you could come away with the 3 points in that fashion?
You take any 3 points you can get your hand on. Every game's hard. I knew it would be the toughest game, and I'm not going to apologise for setting us up accordingly, which is what I did. My team talk that I gave to the players was exactly how that game went. We had to stop their threats. We played Dion left back to deal with their right winger, but we made sure Jim O'Brien or Enzio doubled up with him at every opportunity because he's a threat. We made sure our 2 centre halves were ready for a physical battle that they were going to get with long balls turned in behind them, and our midfield had to be picking up the seconds and playing. And we knew that we wouldn't get to play as free-flowing as we wanted because they'd set traps and they'd press us and get in our faces. And on a fast pitch, with potentially difficult floodlighting on the night, it was quite hard to see. I knew it was going to be one that we had to dig in. And if we came and just played about us and open and just wanted to get on the ball and be Notts County and look nice, we'd have got beat. Absolutely 100% got beat. And at the end of it all, when you actually come back, we collect all the stats. We've had over 500 passes still again. We've had 5 clear-cut chances and we've limited them to a couple of half and half scrambles. And that's probably as good as it can get away from home.
Carl Woodson is in impressive form at the moment, impressive goal-scoring form at the moment. How impressed have you been with his consistency and the kind of the impact that he can have on a game at any point?
I think the thing that impresses me most with Carl Woodson is he's very good with his back to goal. He's got great feet. He's technically excellent. He's a good finisher. All of them things that you guys all see on a daily basis or a weekly basis with him, and the record shows that. But the thing that impresses me more than anything is his humility. Carl Woodson is one of the hardest working centre forwards I've ever worked with. Centre forwards, normally without the ball, you have to just egg them along and encourage them to do the nitty gritty side of the game. Carl Woodson runs his legs off for the team every single game, and chases lost causes and presses teams and puts himself about. And add that to the qualities he's got. His actual humility to do the graft is the most impressive thing about the lad.
A clearly fantastic way to end the game, as we spoke about. Has it been difficult bringing the players back down to earth slightly after a moment like that, or has everybody been really focused from the off going back into work?
No, they're focused. They wouldn't have got home till late on Tuesday night, and It's all about trying to get their bodies back. Everything you do from now until 3 o'clock on Saturday is trying to get the balance right so that we've got that energy and zest in our legs, ready to go on Saturday, because without that, we'll struggle. And, I'd like to think there's a group there that can't wait for the next game, and that's not always been the case.
And finally, difficult start for Maidenhead this season. They got a great win at Wrexham earlier in the week. This league is so unpredictable, isn't it? It's so hard to manage.
Yeah, each game, every game, we played Maidenhead at home last season on Boxing Day, and we were excellent, put them to the sword and won 3-0. And we played them away from home a week later, and we had to hang on in there for a 0-0 draw. There's every game's different. They got away, they go about their business, and it's very effective, and they're very hard to play against. And sometimes you can get on top and take the lead and put the game to bed, and other times you have to hang on in there. I don't expect anything different on Saturday. If we're not at it in every way like we have been the last few games, then you can get beat by any team.
Wish you all the best, Neal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, mate. Just to go back to the FA Cup, and obviously with the situation around the world at the moment, does the FA Cup still carry that same allure as it usually does?
Yeah, I think it does. I think we're all, we know how the world's in a mess at the moment, and every bit of news you get at the moment's tough to watch. But I think we're all hoping that at some point in the new year, we might get some normality back if we can really get this next sort of 8 weeks, 10 weeks right as a nation, that we might get that sense of normality back. So, it's like anything. The early rounds are the ones where you dig deep and you do the mucky stuff that gets you through the rounds, and hopefully come January, you've got a third round tie to look forward to, and you might get a nice draw, and all of a sudden there might be fans allowed back into games.
Well, what have you made of Kings Lynn? What sort of threat do you think they'll bring?
Well, we'll do a homework. Obviously, we haven't studied too much them at the moment because we weren't due to play them till Christmas, and things can change quite rapidly as you go along. But I think any team that gets a promotion is a decent team. I think we saw that with Altrincham. They came here and they were tough. We had to be really on our mettle to earn the right to win. We've seen it when we played York in pre-season. They were in that league, in Altringham's league, and they were strong. So Kings Lynn are no different as far as they've been promoted. They know how to win games. They're strong. Yes, they've had a tough start to this season, last 2 games particularly, but they've played 2 very, very strong teams in our league. And probably, they'll look back and say they've conceded some bad goals. So I still expect them to be competitive in the league, and away from home, it's a tough game.
And Matty Wolf, obviously you brought him in. How did that move come about?
Well, we straight away, when Casper left, we looked at loads of different players, loads of different options. There were some experienced players that might have been more permanent, and younger players that might have been a little bit, short term more initially. And when we did all of our numbers, when we watched back, when everybody collected all their data, he was the one that come out on all our lists as the one we liked the most. Both myself and Greg from a football perspective, from the scouts that watched, he come out as the one we liked the most. And then we add to the fact that we thought he was fit the way we played. He can handle the ball. He can play in a 2. He can play as a 4. He can play as an 8. He fits the mould of everything we want from our midfield. And then the fact that he's 6'2" and he's well built, he can be a marker. He can be a threat from set pieces. So you put it all into the mix, and like I say, he was the one standing out. It was just a case then of seeing if we could get him, and luckily for us, we could.
Has he trained with the players yet?
He trained today. He joined in this morning. There was only 7 or 8 training, but yeah, he joined in this morning.
How did he look?
He did well. It was only short and sharp session. He did well. So, like I say, he looks like everything we saw when we did our own work on him, and we know from speaking to people we saw, he's a good lad, down to earth, humble. He's going to work very, very hard. And like I say to all the players when they arrive, whether they're on loan or they're new signings, take you out of the equation as an individual and come here and think about what you can give to this team, this club, these players. And if you come with that attitude, you'll do well.
He seems very highly regarded by Barnsley, certainly the fans, who seem a little bit baffled as to why they've let him go.
That's always a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it is always a good sign, yeah. What are his strengths?
He can handle the ball. He's technically very proficient. He moves very well, like athletic in the way he moves, changes direction for a big lad. He's not wooden. He's athletic. He's had some injuries in the past where growing injuries, type injuries. From his back and his groins and stuff, and he's had a bit of time out. He's come back. He played the end of last season in the Championship when they were fighting relegation. So that's how highly regarded he was. And at this particular moment in time, this is the right fit for him. But he will. I think he can score goals. I think he can create goals, and I think he can do all the nitty gritty that's needed in this league.
And we've seen before these moves for young players can be very beneficial to their careers as well, can't they?
Yeah, of course. First loans are always tricky for us as managers because you never know what you're going to get, and you tend to think the players might learn on the job a little bit. But sometimes when you're getting good players that are on the verge of first teams, you have to take that step out of your comfort zone as a manager, and if you've got all the data and you've done all your homework and believe that you can find a gem that can come in and be as good as the two we've already got in there, or the three that we've already got in there, and more than match him and play his part.
Were there other clubs in for him?
I don't know. I just know that we got on it very, very early when we lost Casper, and we do feel like we brought in an addition that's going to give us something going forward over the next few months.
Brilliant. And Maidenhead at the weekend, what are you expecting from them? I mean, like you say, it's interesting to note that you say the players shouldn't be waiting around and wanting to play the next game as quickly as possible. Do you feel like you've got that in the squad right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got players who are disappointed they're not in the squad. We've got players who are disappointed they're on the bench. And we've got players who have got, in the starting lineup who are fighting hard to prove why they're in the starting lineup. So it's a happy place. It's a good place, but it only remains happy if you keep doing the right things and winning games of football. So far, we, like I said on Tuesday night, we feel like we should be unbeaten. We're not, and we've got to make sure that we don't leave anything to chance in future, particularly in tough games like the Maidenhead one, which, as we know, can be a potential banana skin.
In terms of injuries, any doubts for the weekend?
I think Dion got a whack on Tuesday night, which is quite sore still. I think it's more illness that's our concern. There's a few in the camp that I'm not going to mention names that are feeling a bit rough, and it's hard to know with the current climate what that is. So we'll do a round of testing tomorrow as a club again. It's probably our second one in 2 weeks now. We'll do another round of testing and try and get a clean bill of health out of it if we can. We'll get the results back tomorrow evening, and that's probably more of a concern, because if you look at Tuesday night's game, all of a sudden you go from fully fit, and then Wes and Elijah aren't feeling well, and Callum was a little bit under the weather and fatigued, and before you know it, you've got 3 players less to choose from.
Yeah. How is Callum Roberts after Tuesday night in terms of his fatigue?
His fatigue's okay, but quite a lot of the squad, we've got quite a few snivels and bits and bobs going on. So hence we're doing all the testing tomorrow to make sure that we know, for sure whether it's just colds or whether somebody, obviously reports back with a different symptom.
And I suppose as a manager, you have to, I suppose in the past when pre-COVID, you would say, oh, it's just a cold, you can come in and train or whatever. But now I suppose you just can't take any chances.
No, we're trying to do everything right. We're trying to make sure we keep cross-contamination, far away from where it needs to be. It's a difficult one, because normally as a manager, sometimes you'd want to name the team on a Friday and go through shape and make sure you nail every facet of the game down. But it's very, very difficult if you're testing and you're not sure to know who you might have available. We could potentially have 1 or 2 come back positive from testing and not be available and lose them for 10 days. So it's the world we live in, and it's a difficult time for everybody. So we're not going to complain. We just need to adapt and prepare accordingly.
And I heard you singing the praises of Carl Wootton earlier on. I mean, you've worked with some fantastic centre forwards in your managerial career. Probably, no doubt, played alongside some as well. But just how good can he be when you compare him to the likes of the Lyle Taylors, the Tom Elliots, the players that you've worked with in the past?
Well, I think, when you look at how you'd want to build a number 9, he's not far off how you want to build it, because the modern day number 9 needs to be good with his back to goal, needs to be able to handle the physical side of centre backs and the challenges. But the modern day number 9 needs to have mobility and needs to have good movement. And you look at his chances 1v1 the other night, his movement off the back shoulder to get in, he's got that. Needs to be intelligent, needs to be able to lead the line up front on his own, needs to be able to play in a pair. And Kyle ticks all them boxes. And probably most important, modern day number 9s need to be able to score goals and take chances. And he's obviously clearly shown he's a good finisher as well. So I think he's got everything. He knows what I think he needs to do to go to the next level. And we work on that regularly. And he's, like I said before, the biggest quality he's got, he's a very, very humble man who wants to give everything he's got and has got no ego in that respect.
Can I ask you about his treatment from referees, though? Because I always find this a little bit interesting, because I watch the games, obviously, in the press box, and I find some of the decisions that go against him a little bit baffling. Can you explain to me, as a manager, why he doesn't seem to get breaks from referees?
No, is the answer. It baffles me as well. There was one, I can't remember what game we was playing in, whether it was the end of pre-season or the start of this season, where I think it might have been the Dover game, where he's lost his man with great movement, gone to make a running behind, and just got absolutely thrown to the floor as he was losing his man. And the referee claimed it was a coming together. Yeah. And, it is what it is. You just can't get frustrated with it, because if you do it, the only people it's going to affect is you. It'll affect me. It'll affect the way I help my team on the side. It'll affect Kyle Woolton. Like I said about Callum Roberts in the Dover game, his frustration with the pitch and the fact he couldn't keep his foot in boiled over into him becoming a worse player, not a better player. And the same will happen to Kyle, and it will happen to me if we get involved with decisions that referees keep getting wrong.
Yeah, because I've noticed in the last couple of games he has become almost like bewildered as to why he's not got the decisions. I suppose as a manager, you just say, look, just get on with it.
You've got to laugh it off. You've got to laugh it off and make sure the next action you do is with focus, with intensity, and you just got to keep doing it until you get your rewards. And you look at the goal the other day. Like I said before, we had 4 or 5 good chances to score prior. The goal we scored the other day comes from, we turn the ball over and our front two, starting with Jimmy Knowles, presses their defender with high intensity, with real determination, and their defender goes from having a chance to put them on the attack. He turns around and plays it back to his goalie because he's under pressure. Kyle Woolton then chases the goalie down, who miskicks it to Michael Doyle, who then puts in Jimmy Knowles, who then chases it through, and they all get their rewards. And Kyle Woolton and Jimmy Knowles created that goal just through hard work.
Mm-hmm. Not enough has been made of that pass by Michael Doyle, by the way.
Well, there you go. That's not enough gets made of a lot of stuff Michael Doyle does, but as long as we notice it, then that's all that matters.
100%, mate. And just finally on Maidenhead, what about them? It looks like it's going to be a tricky season for them long term. I
think there'll be a lot of clubs. You're starting to see signs of some strong teams. I think Solihull's and the Stockports have already shown that they're going to be strong. Yeovil will be strong, I've no doubt. So there's going to be some good teams up there. Then you'll have probably a glut of teams, really pushing to be on the outskirts of the playoffs and get in. And then you're going to have some teams where naturally, and I had this at Wimbledon, when you're a bottom 4 budget or you're a lower down, you survival's is everything, and you have to battle and scrap for every point. And then them teams are the difficult ones. They're hard to, they're not going to come and be totally open. They're going to come and scrap for every challenge that they can during the game. That's why no games are ever easy to win.